Welcome back to the State and Local Sports Show here with Mark Tennis, the co-founder and editor of CalISports.com. We're going to dive into today a bit of the Sac Joaquin section's realignment process, meeting 3 of 5 today. It's a really strange, sometimes tedious process. Sometimes you feel like you're watching C-SPAN for high school sports. It can be kind of dull. But you have moments like today where there are proposals out of nowhere. It's dramatic and kind of a stunner, and you hear these little murmurs through the crowd. It's almost like a movie. I missed it in person, but the day started today with Mark Loureiro, the winningest football coach in Sac Joaquin section history. He was Escalon, is a beloved guy. Brought up a gong and said, ready for round 3. And it made me think, who are some of your favorite sports personalities in this section? Not have to be funny necessarily, but who are the ones that kind of stand out to you from the Sac Joaquin section?
Well, you mentioned Coach Loureiro. The coach that he passed as the winningest in section history, Max Miller, is one of the great characters of the section. Used to coach at Cordova High School. And, in fact, tomorrow I'm going to the Max Miller Clinic of Champions. It's one of the biggest coaching clinics in the western United States in Sacramento. And Max is a Hall of Famer and a funny guy. And then his Cordova High baseball coach, athletic director, Guy Anderson, is one of the most classy guys and fun guys I've ever been around. And I've been around Coach Schneider, Wayne Schneider of Tracy, many times over the years, and he's also one of my all-time favorites as far as personalities. Always has a lot of funny stories and things like that to talk about.
There's so many from this section. I look at Mike Alberghini, the grand football coach, not as gregarious maybe as some of those other on this list, but a really warm person, a guy who's meant a huge amount to what can be a tough community in Sacramento. You saw one of their players had a tragic passing last year. The Sheldon softball coach, Mary Jo Truesdale, immense success, almost like a maternal figure to her players.
Got to get the marbles. Got to get those marbles. Yep.
The marbles?
She has these marbles she gives to the kids. It's pretty funny. She's pretty classic, for sure.
You mentioned Max Miller, made me think of Mark Miller, the longtime Linden football coach. He's still the softball coach. I once saw him drop a bag of M&Ms out of his pocket during a softball game and picked him up like nothing happened. He's hilarious. He's probably one of the best texters of any coach that I cover, which is incredible given he's one of the older coaches that I cover, so I find that impressive. And then Rob Spencer, the coach of Modesto Christian girls basketball, just energy incarnate. A great interview. You can tell how much he loves his team. He greets them with jumping shoulder bumps for their pregame warm-ups. You don't see that quite often, so those are a few of my favorites. Modesto Christian definitely on the menu today. They are still on track via the latest realignment proposal to join the TCAL, which is St. Mary's, Lincoln, Lodi Tokay, West, and Tracy for basketball only. A motion to keep them in their current Modesto Metro Conference was struck down 5-4 by the realignment committee, so this initial idea keeps chugging along for now. I like the idea of them in the TCAL, but kind of just as a reporter, the rivalries, there are some rivalries that could bloom maybe, them and St. Mary's as parochial power-type schools and maybe some enticing league races. It's hard for me to argue with them not wanting to be in an all-San Joaquin County league, and they don't, and travel for an hour for games against the Lodi schools that they're probably going to win easily. In that case, they might as well stay in their conference. What do you think about where MC should be? I almost feel like maybe, especially the boys program, should be an independent like the St. Mary's girls because of how far they've gotten over the past few years.
They've been independent in the past. They're probably more of a natural fit in the Valley Oak League, but that opens up a lot of other different cans of worms. It is an hour, but it's also an hour for the local schools to go to Modesto Christian when they have to play them. So I don't know how that's going to work. But you're right. There could be a St. Mary's Modesto Christian rivalry. The Modesto Christian program is just something that's always going to evolve. For all we know, in 5 years, they're going to be, even bigger program, dominating the section in the highest division like they were in the 90s and late 90s. Are they going to go back toward that level of domination where they're playing for open division state championships year in, year out? It's possible. They might. They're going to get the players with the coaching. They've had some coaching changes, and there seemed to be a little bit of instability there, but they've got the players, they've got the track record, and it's going to be an evolving situation for many, many years, not just this current realignment cycle.
Yeah, if Modesto Christian, if they had to move, they would like the idea of joining the Valley Oak League. They cited how much more success in the postseason VOL teams have had. But, I feel like it's more likely for them to stay juggernauts than for the VOL, especially basketball-wise, to be as good as it has been. I think it's reached kind of an apex. I mean, even this year for boys basketball, it's a bit of a downswing. Think about all the guys who graduated: Wooten, Hundal, Jalen Ragsdale, Fred Lavender. I'm not to say that there's not going to be another class like that, but it's kind of rare for a medium school league to have so many great basketball players.
Correct, yes.
Speaking of Western Ranch and the Manteca Unified Schools, they brought a stunner to many today. The 5 schools in that district, that is the 3 Manteca schools, East Union, Sierra, Manteca, plus Lathrop and Western Ranch, proposed a VOL that kicks out Maine State Oakdale and Central Catholic, which has dominated, especially in football, since coming in 3 years ago. A lot of the information they cited, and then Sierra's athletic director, Anthony Chapman, was speaking on the district's behalf, was football. He said pretty much verbatim that friendships need to be put aside in this case. It's obvious that Oakdale's rep, Norm Antonetti, who's also the league's commissioner, is not too happy. That didn't get put through. The proposal that got put through had 7 of the current 8 teams there, moving Lathrop down to the WAC, a Division IV league. When you hear of someone proposing, trying to move out Oakdale and Central Catholic, I mean, it's entertaining at the very least. It was certainly one of the more dramatic things to happen in this process so far.
Well, especially because Manteca and Oakdale have played against each other for just about every year since the early 1920s in football. So for that to happen where Manteca Unified is trying to do something where they don't want to be part of the same league as Oakdale is a stunner. It also reminds me of kind of realignment problems around the state, and that you have, I don't know if it's a problem, but school districts generally around the state, they all want to stick together. All the schools in their district stick together. So it's Manteca Unified has made a move today that obviously they want to stay together. And the same things you'll see in Elk Grove, or the same things you'll see in Southern California at Long Beach. And a lot of times that can be a problem with competitive equity, because you'll have one school in the league will be really good in one sport, and then everybody else isn't very good in that sport, but they all want to stay together in the same league, and it just creates some difficult situations. A lot of times it's better, in my opinion, for some of these school districts to break themselves up a little bit and be in different leagues and think a little bit more outside the box, because there'll be more competitive situations for a lot of the teams in their district.
Now, Mark Tennis, you do a weekly column for us. I had to full name you there, On the Record and recordnet.com. Could you tell us a bit about what you're writing about this week?
Well, I wrote this week about a little bit about the Lions All-Star football game. We had a meeting the other night with the two coaches, where the two coaches met each other, Dustin Corporeza from Los Banos and Willie Herrera from East Union, and that got me thinking about some promotional ideas, because my role in the Lions game is as the public relations volunteer, may help the game in that capacity. So it's a much different hat that I put on when I'm in that role than when I'm, going to a game or doing the website or many other things. And one of the ideas that we had, of course, with East Union playing in the game or being the coach in the game, is Vinny Therese. They scored that unbelievable touchdown for East Union. He has Down syndrome, and he scored that last touchdown of the season, the last play of the game, the last deal against Del Campo. And we talking to the coach, you think as a promoter, maybe we can get him to do it in our game. And it was such an organic, thing that happened in that game. I think it would cheapen it. And he kind of agreed. And so, but we did find out that he's going to try to get Vinny to be at the game. But again, it's mainly about the Lions game and the kids in the game itself, and just the column is about kind of the game and some of the discussions we had about promoting it, and that's what that's what this one's about.
The St. Mary's girls basketball team, a team we saw on a 57-game winning streak last year. They were national #1, still very highly ranked in the state this year, with just a lot of tough luck with injuries. Now you see Akira DaCosta, star forward, a junior, a torn meniscus. Could be a 3-month recovery, could be a few weeks recovery, depending on what type of surgical approach they might take. You have San Diego State-bound guard Najee Mary still in the final stages of her torn ACL recovery. Another potential starting guard, Nicole Young, also out for a knee injury. I mean, they're still the obvious #1 ranked team in this area, but if DaCosta, even if she comes back not full strength or tentative, this could be a short state playoff run for this team. They usually kind of run through the section, so I don't want to make any predictions there. But they're going to be in the open division for the foreseeable future, as far as my understanding is. And I think if DaCosta's hurt, if Murray's not back, or if she's hurt or limited, who knows? I mean, it could be tough going.
Could be tough going. It kind of depends on how, a couple of those things come together. If they still probably will win the Division I section title, that's the first thing to look at, and they still may be the team to beat in that. And then if they get to the Open Division, it would depend on where they get seated. If they have to play Archbishop Mitty right away, there probably would be a quick visit to the Open Division. If they have to play Clovis West of Fresno, maybe, quick, they're gone. But if they play anybody else, a lot of the teams in Northern California, when you get down after the first couple, have some major holes. So on a night in, night out basis, you don't know what's going to happen. So no, they actually could win maybe a game, even as depleted as they are, because it's just not that great of a season after the first couple of teams.
You talk about a great experience, too, for their prominent players who are younger. They have a freshman guard named Amaya Oliver. No matter what happens to them, she's going to benefit from getting a ton of playing time in the state playoff game. All right, for the CalHighSports.com Gold Club, all your insider content, state record books, rankings, anything you could want to read, less than $20 a year, less than $2 a month. And thanks for joining us, Mark.
Thanks again, Thomas. Have a great weekend.